Alright, we're pulling into the track now. Stopped at the little gas station here. And we're going to go see JC, get signed in, get a spot, and then see what the schedule is for the sessions. Okay, I'm in the car because it's kind of windy. We're up here on the skid pad at Crescent. I give you a quick look around. So I was going to do a little bit of shakedown on the skid pad, but it looks like they have it closed down. Where some guys parked over here. So I guess we're just going to have to wait for the first session to see if anything falls off this car. So the main reason we're out here today is we just blew the car apart, put it all back together. It was time for the engine to be rebuilt, and right about the same time, the last event I drove was Lone Star Bash, and I smashed the back of the car in. So what we did was we went ahead, cut the back of the car off, went with the 2F fiberglass rear, which was such a breeze to do. So we tubed the rear, did the fiberglass rear. This car has never been a tube front. It's always had a cord support, and it's been pretty simple. But what we did with the front of the car, since the engine had to come out, I wanted to paint the engine bay. Well, we said, well, now's the time to do it if we're going to do it. So I went ahead, tubed the front end, which turned into replacing the radiator that had a leak. So we went with a new radiator. We went with a new intercooler. I built a custom intercooler for it. So of course, you know how it goes. It just all snowballed into this and this and that. And now, pretty much all the systems on the car have been replaced, except for maybe like the trans back. But some of the big things I want to check today, which usually rear their head on track, would be the breather system, especially for a turbo car. I need to make sure the catch can is working, it's not filling up. Because what happens when it fills up is all that oil ends up on your windshield, and that's not real fun. The whole turbo kit, I just made a new turbo kit for the car, a little bit different design. Like I said, the intercooler's different, so we're going to see how that does. I'm going to watch intake air temps on the MXL here. It logs and will have all that information for me. And I'm going to also keep track of water temps, because this is a new radiator. I think it's actually a little bit smaller. It's one of those, it's a Griffin Dirt Track radiator. I think it's a dual pass, but it's smaller for packaging, and it doesn't have any ducting right now. And I only have a single fan on it, so I want to see how that does. And the last thing was the power steering system. I had the stock reservoir on here forever, and it was fine. But honestly, I just wanted to convert everything to AN lines. So what I did was converted everything to AN and made this trick little power steering reservoir. But dumb me, I didn't baffle the thing. I didn't know you were supposed to baffle the power steering reservoir, so that didn't work at all. It made a big mess. We found that out pretty early on, so I learned something there for sure. So what I did is I like the Chase Bays unit. It looks really nice. I know they have a lot of engineering in it, and it was reasonably priced, so that's what I bought, and it seems to be working so far. And so we're gonna see how it goes. There's a lot of new systems on the car. All the suspension's been blown off. It's got new coilovers with different spring rates. It's got a new front sway bar and drop spindles on the car. Those are all new things. The front track on the car is wider by at least 2 inches. So yeah, it's going to be a real treat today to see how this thing does. So coming out here today to mainly to shake all the systems down, see what comes loose, see what leaks, see what falls off the car. The motor's brand new, the engine's brand new, so you know it's had dyno time, but we need to bring it out here, put it through a full session, through its paces, and this is kind of the process. I'm making this video as kind of a behind-the-scenes track day / shakedown on a fresh race car build, if you want to call it that. Okay, so we're just getting ready to go out, open wheels out today. So they have motorcycles, open wheel, then sports cars. So we're getting ready to go out. I got my sweet suit on. Here's the deal. If you come to Crescent or you come to the track and you don't have a suit, this is what they give you. These are the pink clown suits that a bunch of old fat dudes have worn and sweated up in there. So hopefully they wash them good. But yeah, I got the car chilling. I just set tire pressures, torque the wheels. Ideally, when you get to the track, that's all you want to do. You don't want to be working on anything. I try not to get to the track and have to work on anything, at least when the day starts. So yeah, so it helps your start to the day be more calm and focus on driving. So I took the car around, drove it around a little, gas station, went to the skid pad. They actually have the skid pad closed today, so I wasn't able to do a whole bunch of stuff up there. But we are going to go out here in just a minute. I'm going to start the car, let it warm up, drive it around the pad a little bit to get the diff and trans fluid a little warm. And then that's it. We're going to be out on track. Okay, so update. I got the hood popped here, kind of looking over some things. There was some smoke back here, but I think it's really just some of the coating or some residual fluid. I don't see anything to be concerned about. I noticed water temps were getting a little too high. It got to like 200, which isn't a big deal, but when I came into the pits, it just kept climbing. So I figured the fan wasn't working, and sure enough, it isn't working. It wasn't working, sorry. And pull my fuse out of the panel. Sure enough, this jobby's super blown. So it's a 20. I think I'll go to a 25 just because maybe this fan is way more hardcore than fusing to individuals. So we're gonna do that. Power steering fluid looks good. The reservoir looks fine. I might put a little bit in there. I just got to figure out why the power steering's doing that. Belt looks fine. So this is a totally new breather system for me, and this will be the kind of the first test it'll ever have. I'm about to drain it and see what comes out of it. Oh man. That's a bunch of shit. Hopefully that's all just water. Yeah. I guess next session, it looks like mainly water. I guess next session what I'll do is I'm gonna catch all that and see what it is. See how much water and oil is in there. Looks like just water with some oil residue. Okay, I'm gonna get this fuse replaced, and I don't know, maybe try to troubleshoot the power steering some more, because I can't really drive the car like that. So, but overall, the car feels pretty good. Nothing super bad about the suspension to complain about right now. So, yeah. So I'm just gonna roll with it. So I was getting some low oil pressure warnings in that session, and the way that the AIM dash is set up is you can do conditioned alarms like above this boost pressure, above this RPM, and less than 35 psi oil pressure to flash a warning. And you can set several of those based on what the RPM is. So it's not just always going off at idle or this and this and that. So it was flashing at 2 spots on track during some right-handers. So and it logs all of this info. So I am plugged in right now to go back and look at exactly what's going on at those parts of the track. How low is it actually getting? So I can determine, how bad it is. What's really frustrating is that this is a Tomei oil pan with the excessive conversion pan, and I was running a stock KA pan for years and years and never had an issue. But I just transferred over to this because it's a baffled pan, the car's getting faster, and I thought, well, hell, it's going to need it at some point. Well, here we are, first time out, and I'm maybe running 50%, 60% pace, and it's having an oil warning, so that's a really big deal. So I'm going to try to see what's going on, and we'll look at the software. Okay, so I got the software pulled up. I'm starting to dig through here and try to find a little bit more info about the low oil pressure warnings. So I doubt you can see this with the refresh and all that, but what this is this is the software that will let you track everything down. Basically, I'm plotting GPS speed with oil pressure and then just RPM to see how much different the low oil pressure is versus the RPM. Obviously, if it's super high RPM, low oil pressure, that's a worst case scenario. So what I'm doing is I'm showing the peaks and valleys of this oil pressure, and it looks like in that last session I saw 28 psi oil pressure at 3,500 RPM, but it's a really big dip. It's definitely like a starvation deal. I know it's not the end of the world, 28 pounds, but it's frustrating because this never happened with the stock KA pan. So it's really surprising also. There's a couple spots in here. It definitely happened at 2 spots on track. So over here shows you where it's happening on track. It's definitely two main spots. Right-handers, basically braking hard into right-handers, and then like usually a downshift, a blip, or something like that, or chucking the car in. Looks like that's what's doing it. So I will probably have to figure something out. I mean, the car's only going to get faster, and this is only going to become more of an issue. So we will try to see. So the cool thing about coming to the track is you always see really nice cars. I'll show you a couple. Here's a McLaren on Pirellis, carbon brakes, black on black, super good looking. Over here there's a Viper ACR, cool gray wrap on it too. I kind of like the wheels. They look like a machined, like forge lines maybe? Yep, they're forge lines. So that's super cool. I'm hanging out here at Doghouse at the track. They do a lot of trackside